In 200 BCE, the Han Dynasty built something extraordinary. It wasn't the Great Wall, it wasn't a mighty army, it wasn't even their famous silk. It was a system of communication using bamboo strips. These simple pieces of wood, inscribed with careful records, allowed them to control 56 million people without phones, computers, or modern technology. This communication system was so effective that aspects of it are still used in Chinese governance today. In 144 BCE, Emperor Jing of Han had a peculiar hobby. He loved gardens, but not the kind you're thinking of. His favorite garden contained no flowers, no trees, and no fountains. Instead, it contained something far more valuable: political secrets. You see, the emperor created an elaborate system where different parts of his garden represented different regions of China. And each morning, he would walk through this garden and receive reports about each area, placed precisely where they belonged on his living map. This wasn't just a clever filing system, though. It was one of history's first data visualization tools, a way to understand vast amounts of information at a glance. And it worked brilliantly, until it didn't. Because one morning, the emperor noticed something strange in his garden. Reports from the northern regions showed unusual patterns. Patterns that, if he hadn't seen them laid out in his garden, might have seemed unconnected. These patterns revealed a massive conspiracy that could have destroyed his dynasty. The garden had saved the empire. But here's what fascinates me the most. The principles behind Emperor Jing's garden, understanding complex data through visualization, spotting patterns others miss, seeing the bigger picture, are exactly what today's business leaders pay thousands to learn. And this is just one of countless stories that show how ancient wisdom still shapes our world, and how they can help you instill success into your own life. Are you curious to learn more about this kind of stuff? Starting January 5th, I'm teaching a small group of just 40 people the real secrets of ancient Chinese power. This isn't surface-level history. This is the deep understanding that comes from live interactive sessions, real-time questions and discussions, and behind-the-scenes analysis that you won't find anywhere else. 2,000 years ago, a Chinese emperor made a decision that would change the world forever. He sent a diplomat named Zhang Chen west into unknown territories, carrying nothing but silk and a dream of trade. What happened next was extraordinary. This single journey didn't just establish the famous Silk Road. It created the world's first truly global economy, a network so powerful that a piece of silk made in Xi'an could buy a villa in Rome. Spices from India could make a Persian merchant wealthy. Ideas and innovations spread faster than ever before. But here's the most fascinating thing. The principles that made the Silk Road successful are identical to those driving today's global trade networks. Understanding these ancient patterns helps us to see modern global politics in a whole new light. In my upcoming course, we'll explore this and many other fascinating connections between ancient China and our modern world. For centuries, Chinese silk makers guarded a secret worth killing for. It wasn't the quality of their silk, though that was legendary. It wasn't their trading routes, though those were valuable. It wasn't even their production techniques, though those were revolutionary. Their most precious secret was a lie. They convinced the world that silk came from a mysterious plant that only grew in China. This simple deception protected their monopoly for centuries, built the largest trade network in history, and created wealth beyond imagination. But the fascinating part is, when the truth finally leaked that silk came from silkworms, not plants, something unexpected happened. Instead of destroying the trade network, it made it stronger. Why? Because by then, the Silk Road had become about something much bigger than silk. It had become a highway for ideas that shape civilizations, innovations that change the world, cultural exchanges that still influence us today. This story reveals something profound about power. Sometimes the greatest strength comes not from keeping secrets, but from creating connections. In my new course, we'll explore how these ancient patterns of trade, deception, and connection still shape global politics and business today. And you can be part of it. Like the ancient silk traders, we know the value of exclusivity. That's why we're limiting our workshop to just 40 participants. In 195 CE, the Han Dynasty faced its greatest crisis. The emperor was just a child in chaos. Warlords were rising. But one woman had a plan. Empress Lu placed an empty throne in the imperial court. Behind it, hidden behind a thin silk screen, she ruled China. This empty throne strategy wasn't just clever political theater. It was a masterclass in managing perceptions, wielding invisible influence, and leading without seeming to lead. And it worked for years, until someone made a fatal mistake. Starting January 5th, you can be part of a small group of just 40 people that I will be teaching Chinese history to, which includes the real secrets of ancient Chinese power. Imagine this. You're a general with just a handful of soldiers, and 150,000 enemy troops are marching toward your fort. What do? If you're like most people, you'd probably prepare for battle or retreat. But according to the legends, Zhuge Liang, one of ancient China's greatest military strategists, did something completely different and unexpected. He opened the gates wide and sat on the wall playing his lute. The enemy army, suspicious of such bizarre behavior, retreated, convinced it must be a trap. This empty fort strategy didn't just save a kingdom that day. It revealed something profound about human psychology and power that still applies today. You see, sometimes the most powerful move isn't showing your strength, it's understanding how others think. This is just one of the fascinating stories and strategies we'll explore in my upcoming live course. Are you intrigued by how ancient wisdom can unlock modern understanding? In 760 CE, during the height of the Tang Dynasty, a humble tea merchant named Lu Yu changed the course of Chinese history. But not through war, not through politics, not even through wealth. He did it with a simple book about tea. You see, before Lu Yu, tea generally was just a bitter drink used by Buddhist monks to stay awake during meditation. But Lu Yu saw something deeper. He understood that tea wasn't just a beverage. It was a bridge between social classes, a tool for diplomacy, and most importantly, a source of power. His book, The Classic of Tea, transformed a common drink into a symbol of refinement and cultural sophistication. Soon, even Emperor Dezong himself couldn't start his day without performing Lu Yu's tea ceremony. Think about that for a moment. Here you have a simple merchant changing the daily habits of the most powerful man in the world, not through force or manipulation, but through understanding something profound about human nature. Real power isn't always about strength. Sometimes it's about understanding the subtle forces that shape society. This story fascinates me because it reveals three timeless truths about power. Cultural influence often outlasts military might. The Tang Dynasty fell, but tea culture survived. Small changes can have empire-shifting consequences. A simple book about tea transforms society. Understanding human nature is the greatest power of all. Lu Yu didn't just sell tea, he sold refinement and status. These same principles still shape our world today. Why do certain brands dominate global markets? How do some leaders maintain influence without force? What makes some cultural practices spread while others fade? The answers lie in understanding these ancient patterns of power and influence. While I was on my trip in China, I had the pleasure to learn deep and sought-after information that you won't find anywhere on the internet. It's powerful, exciting, and it'll give you a fresh perspective that you can use to forge success in your own life. And that's exactly why I've created my new live course, Bronze Blades and Bamboo, Ancient Imperial China. Through stories like those of Lu Yu and Emperor Jing and Zhuge Liang, you'll be able to discover the hidden principles that shaped history and continue to shape our world today. If you're curious about how ancient wisdom can illuminate modern understanding, I'd love to share more fascinating stories and insights with you. Below this video, I've left a link. Click it to learn more about what the course is all about and how to join our intimate group of history enthusiasts. There's a lot of content out on the internet, but there's nothing quite like this. I'd be honored to have you as part of the group.